The May 17th, 2018. I always live in the past. Will come to order. Can we have roll call, please?
Chairman Barry.
Here.
Vice Chair Latour.
Here.
Commissioner Bynum.
Here.
Commissioner Cox. Here. Commissioner Finney.
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton. Commissioner Haynes.
Here.
Commissioner Leahy. Here. Commissioner May.
Here.
Commissioner Stebbins. Here, Commissioner Thomas. You have 8 members present. You do have a quorum.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move the minutes be approved.
I second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes, and it's been seconded. Those approve, raise your hand. Those who do not approve, it's been passed. Would you like to go through the consent agenda, Donna?
Little Rock Planning Commission Subdivision Consent Agenda, May 17, 2018. Items for consent deferral. Item 1, file number S-1811, LaMarche Village Preliminary Plat, located at 16307 Taylor Loop Road. The applicant submitted a request on May 1, 2018, requesting deferral of this item to the June 28, 2018 public hearing. Item number 11, file number Z-9321, Calhoun Short Form PDR, located at 4208 Fairview Road. The applicant submitted a request dated May 9, 2018, requesting deferral of this item to the June 28, 2018 public hearing. Item number 12, file number Z-9322, Townhouse Apartment Short Form PDR, located at 15901 Taylor Loop Road. Staff is requesting and the applicant has agreed to a deferral of this item to the June 28, 2018 public hearing to allow additional time to develop and review drainage analysis for the proposed development of this site. Items for consent approval. Item A, file number LA-0079, Carti Land Alteration Variance Request, located between Carti Way and I-630. The applicant has agreed to the planting requirements and contribution to the City of Little Rock Tree Fund as indicated in the staff analysis of the agenda. Staff recommends approval of the proposed restoration plan along with a contribution to the City of Little Rock Tree Fund in the amount of $63,334.86, subject to compliance with the comments. Our staff recommends approval subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and J of the agenda staff report. Item number C, file number Z-1870-B, King Ridge Enterprises, revised short form PDC, located at 2501 South Broadway Street. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Item number D, file number Z-4324-A, ACE General Contractors, long form PID, located at 11201 Stagecoach Road. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends the proposed use mix of the site match the available parking. Staff recommends the gravel surface be constructed in a manner that does not result in the creation of dust, mud, silt, or standing water. Staff recommends approval of the variance from Section 30-43 and 31-210 to allow the drives as proposed on the site. In the future, a third drive will not be allowed to serve the site. Staff recommends approval of the variance request from the Land Alteration Ordinance to allow grading of future phases with the development of the first phase. Item number 2, file number S-1812, Rowanwood Subdivision Site Plan Review, located on the east side of South Shackleford Road in the 27 to 3300 blocks. The applicant has addressed staff's concerns with regard to the traffic analysis in the proposed grading plan. Staff is in support of the request. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the variance request from the city's land alteration ordinance to allow grading of both phases with the development of the first phase. Item number 3, file number S-1813, Giving in Kindness in Arkansas Subdivision Site Plan Review, located at 5816 Geyer Springs Cutoff. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the deferral request of the paving of the parking and driveways until additional buildings are placed on the site or until the site is redeveloped. Staff recommends approval of the deferral request of the Boundary Street ordinance requirements until additional buildings are placed on the site or until redevelopment of the site. Item number 5, file number S-1815, Aiken Subdivision Site Plan Review, located at 4004 Fraser Pike Road. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the requested deferral of the street construction improvements until additional buildings are placed on the site or until the site is redeveloped. Item number 6, file number Z-5309-A, 2712 Kavanaugh, short form PCD, located at 2712 Kavanaugh Boulevard and 703 Beechwood Street. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends prior to construction, the applicant stake and fence the drip line of the 2 trees which are proposed to be maintained. Item number 7, file number Z-6178-K, Stagecoach Village, Lot 1, revised short form POD, located at 9222 Stagecoach Road. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. And item number 13, file number Z-9323, 818 West Capitol, short form PCD, located at 818 West Capitol. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. And that concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you, Donna. Do I hear a motion for the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda, including all staff comments and conditions.
There's been a motion made to approve the consent agenda. Has it been seconded? Second. Those approve the consent agenda, raise your hand. Those who do not. Consent agenda passes. So if you saw your item just read on the consent agenda, you're certainly welcome to stay, but feel free to be excused. So we'll take just a minute to clear, and then we'll get started on our regular agenda. Thank you. While they're clearing, I have a question for Corrine Frazier regarding item number 8. Are you here speaking for the application or against the application?
I have to hear the application.
Okay. So you have a question, or may have a question.
May.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, may we ask if the applicant for item B, Sticks Event Center, is here?
Yeah, as the applicant for item B, the Stick Center here on Asher. I do have a card in opposition to it. I imagine you're welcome to speak against it, but we will be voting on the item, so we'll get started in just a second. Ruth Bell, I know you had a card for item number 10. Did you have a card for another item? Okay, just making sure. We have some folks who are just coming in. We're getting ready to get started on our regular agenda. Did you wish to speak to an item that is at the hearing? Okay. Well, with that said, we have items B, 4, 8, 9, and 10. if I'm correct. Is that your,
On advice from council, we're going to move item B to the end since the
Okay.
applicant is not here.
all righty.
So we'll start with item 4.
Start with item 4, and I will remind the applicants, we are down to 8 commissioners here present. You need 6 affirmative votes to have your application pass. As our practice and standard, we do offer the applicants an option if we have 8 or less present to ask for a deferral. Now, we're not encouraging that, but that's really an option for the applicant. So I just thought I'd let you know that. And also, before we begin, we do have a, well, I'll mention that on the one of the other items. So let's speak to item number 4.
You want to call each of them up and ask them so they don't all have to sit here if somebody decides they want to take the deferral?
I'll tell you what, if one of the applicants wants to take a deferral, come up and say. That'd be a lot easier. So for applicant for the Willow Springs, the item 8, for item 9, or number 10. Is all applicants here? If you wish to ask for a deferral, come up and say so. Otherwise, we will proceed. I'll give you a few seconds if you're pondering. Okay, here we go.
All right, they're weighing their options.
Okay.
Item number 4, file number S-1814, 4624 Willow Springs Road, subdivision site plan review, located at 4624 Willow Springs Road. The applicant is proposing the addition of a second home on the property, which requires review by the Planning Commission. The review is a subdivision or multiple building site plan review as per Section 3113 of the Little Rock Code of Ordinances. The site contains an existing one-story long home and accessory building. The second home is proposed 30 feet by 50 feet, containing 1,500 square feet of floor area. The home is proposed with a minimum of 60-foot setback from the existing home. A new drive from Willow Springs Road will be added to access the new home. Staff is supportive of the request. The site is located outside the city limits of Little Rock, but within the city's extraterritorial planning jurisdiction in which the city exercises subdivision regulations. The new home will be provided wastewater treatment via the installation of a new septic system. Prior to the applicant receiving a 911 address from the county, the applicant will be required to provide all proper approvals from the Arkansas Department of Health for the installation of the septic system. Staff does not feel the placement of the second home on the site will have any adverse impact on this site or surrounding properties. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to approach the podium? We just have one card in opposition to this, is for the applicant to know. So you can make your presentation or wait to see what the person wants to say in opposition, and then come up here and speak to that.
I'd like to see what the person has to say, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
all right, let's do that. We have James Beard.
Yes, sir. All right, so is this one home being built, or is this a multi-home being built in here? It sounds like there's just one home being built.
It's a second home will be placed on the property. So there'll be 2 single-family homes on the property,
And
but
that's
not
it?
an apartment, not
Okay,
attached.
all right, I'll withdraw my complaint, okay?
Okay.
Let them do it.
All right.
because I thought they were gonna put a housing down through there, and they was gonna take away the woods and all the animals and that, so I was in opposition to that.
Well, good.
No
It's
problem.
It's always good to check.
Yeah,
Thank you.
For sure. All
Okay.
right, y'all have a good day.
Applicant, would you like to approach, or we can vote.
I mean, I don't know what you need from me. I mean,
Okay.
just-
Okay. Commissioners, any questions, comments? Okay, do we hear a motion for item number 4?
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of this item with all staff comments and conditions therein.
Okay, we have a motion for the application and staff recommendations for item number 4. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. Those approve, raise your right hand. Those who do not? It passes. 8. Okay. Item number 8.
Item number 8, file number Z-8278-A, the District of Midtown Long Form PCD, located at 600 South University Avenue, on the northwest corner of I-630 and University Avenue. The request is a rezoning of the site from C3 General Commercial District to PCD Planned Commercial Development District to allow the redevelopment of the site with a multi-lot development. The plan indicates the development of 29.53 acres with 15 lots. The lots are proposed to develop with restaurant uses, hotel, general retail, and office. The development plan as presented has several exceptions from the typical development standards of the Midtown Design Overlay District. The exceptions are related to the site development criteria, mostly due to the developer not knowing the particular restaurant and/or retail user who will eventually occupy the site. The plan indicates lots ranging in size from 0.90 acres to 7.27 acres. The applicant has indicated that the lots will be sold or will be leased. The request is to allow grading of the entire site with the installation of the drives and utilities with the initial site development. To allow the development as proposed requires a variance from the land alteration ordinance to allow grading of the site without the issuance of a building permit. The applicant is also requesting variances from the land alteration ordinance to allow retaining wall heights to exceed the typical maximum height of 15 feet. The applicant indicates the wall heights will range in height with a maximum wall height of 20 to 25 feet. The request also includes a variance from the land alteration ordinance to allow retaining walls greater than 200 feet in length to be straight lined without curved sections, jogs, or offsets. The applicant has provided a signage plan which includes a number of number of distinct signs identifying the development as the district at Midtown. The applicant indicates building signage will comply with signage as allowed within the zoning ordinance. The request includes a variance from the zoning ordinance to allow a reduced street buffer along South University Avenue. The site plan indicates a minimum dimension of 14 feet. Based on the buffer ordinance, 50-foot average would typically be required. Along the interstate, the applicant is proposing the placement of a 20-foot buffer, which the zoning ordinance would typically require the placement of a 30-foot buffer adjacent to the freeway. The request also includes the placement of a reduced land use buffer of 20 feet at the southwest corner of the site. Within this area, the zoning ordinance would typically require the placement of a 50-foot average buffer. The applicant is also requesting to allow easements to count in the buffer width requirement. The applicant is also proposing to remove all the existing vegetation within the land use buffers and on the site. The buffer areas will be replanted with evergreen trees as a screening measure. The applicant has worked with Public Works to determine traffic flows in the area. The applicant has agreed to construct a new fully directional actuated traffic signal at South University Avenue and the District Avenue, which is known as 6th Street, which is not a public street, with provisions for pedestrians to cross north-south on the west side of South University Avenue, but no pedestrian crossing east-west across South University Avenue. The applicant has also agreed to lengthen to the maximum extent possible the northbound left turn lane on South University Avenue within the existing median approaching the District Avenue. The applicant will install the safe hit Dura Post delineator type traffic bollards along the left Public Works turn line of the outer northbound lane of South University Avenue from I-630 northbound off-ramp to the District Avenue and along the right lane line of the northbound left turn lane approaching the District Avenue. The applicant will relocate the pedestrian crosswalk at Midtown Avenue to the east at a location to ensure compliance with the manual on uniform traffic control devices. Staff is supportive of the applicant's request. The applicant is seeking approval of the rezoning to allow the development of a mixed-use development at this location, although there are exceptions listed from the typical development standards of the Midtown Design Overlay District. Staff does not feel the exceptions requested will significantly impact the development. The applicant has provided pedestrian connectivity within and through the site. The applicant has also indicated only one of the large-scale buildings will not have public spaces or plazas. The other two buildings noted are existing. Staff feels the developers have done an adequate job in trying to meet the spirit of the overlay for the future development of the site. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the variances requested from the city's land alteration ordinance.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, given the scale and interest in this parcel for so long, would you just give us a brief presentation? Doesn't have to be detailed, just for the record, so everyone interested could hear it. But we have two cards in opposition or with questions. So, and then you can hear those and come back to those.
Walter, could we go back to the last slide that you were on? Color rendering there. I'm Robert Brown. I'm with Development Consultants, and we're very proud to be representing this project on behalf of Provident Realty Advisors. Mr. Chris Anderson here is with Provident Realty Advisors, who is the manager of this project for that firm, and Cliff McKinney with Quattlebaum Grooms and some other attorneys is handling a lot of the legal real estate matters and so forth with this project. So this is part of our team. Ernie Peters is also here with us, who's developed the traffic study and will be working on things related to signals, designs, and the pedestrian crosswalk that was mentioned. So this site, as everyone is fairly familiar with, is kind of a dark and vacant place right now in the south half. Total acreage is a little under 30 acres. The main redevelopment focus here is the southern half, which is right around 16 acres. Right now, there are two buildings that will remain on the site. That would be the doctor's building up at the northeast corner, and at the northwest corner is, I'm not sure if it has an official name. We've always called it the LRMA Medical Building. Little Rock Medical Associates developed that property. In the middle between that is currently vacant property that a site plan is shown for a proposed hotel. South of that are another 12 lots. There's going to be a total, the way we've got it now, 15 lots to be re-subdivided out of the existing 9 that are there. So the ASO building on the west end will go away. The Sears building will go away. The Auto Center will go away. And what you see in the site plan is our concept of what would be developed. So it kind of starts with the realignment of what is known as 6th Street, which is actually a private drive, not a public road, that runs east-west through the property from the intersection at University just south of the parking deck. So we proposed to take that alignment, swing it southwest, have a traffic circle, go all the way to the western boundary, and then also have another primary drive bisecting the property from north to south, coming from central area of our frontage on Midtown and down to the traffic circle, which then heads on to a proposed new on-ramp at the interstate. The existing on-ramp at Bluebird at the southwest corner will be removed as part of the Highway Department improvement project where the lane widenings occur. So along that frontage of 630, there is a mix of quite a few restaurant pads. Some of them will be probably, there's a little retail mixed in on the east end, but some of them will be more of a custom-built restaurant buildings. Some of them will be chain operators. All of them will be required to adhere to material quality standards as are stated in the DOD regulations. We are doing a good showing of street tree and perimeter tree plantings on the property. We have incorporated a lot of landscape where there is hardly any today on this site. I think we're pushing a little over 20%, somewhere between 20 and 24% on the properties that'll be redeveloped. And we're also providing 20 feet of buffer along 630 frontage, where now there's maybe 5 to 7 feet. And on the western edge, there's anywhere from 0 at the north end to 5 or 6 feet along the southern part of the west side. And we're proposing to have that in buffer with a sidewalk and plant an evergreen, something like large arborvitaes for an evergreen screen in that area. Although I just got an email from Entergy this morning and they didn't like that idea. So we'll be talking to them about that. In the mix of things north of the main drive, which we're calling District Avenue, it's still labeled on that site plan as 6th Street before the name was changed, but it will be called District Avenue. At the west end, there is a hotel site plan proposed, and this user is one that Provident has a negotiation working with right now. The next one to the east of that is another retail restaurant building, so there'll be a mix of retail users, probably a restaurant in there, has a patio space. Further east across the drive that runs north-south is another building it'll be spec space with retail and restaurant use. On the far east end, there's another retail building and a restaurant building. So that's kind of the nutshell summary. We have on the site plan a summary of square footage. It's less than what there is today with the ASO building and the Sears building and the auto center. And the uses are still predominantly, it's all commercial, hotels being quasi sort of commercial. And then we have the largest component of square footage on the site is the doctor's medical office building and the LRMA medical office building to the north. So there are no boundary street improvements required. Everything is in place. Small right-of-way dedication required on Midtown Avenue and a very small, thin right-of-way dedication required along University, and we are complying with that. We're working through a large number of easement abandonment approvals with the utility companies right now. Plan to submit that next week, but as you can imagine, there are lines and easements all over this place, and a lot of things are going to have to get moved. So I think with that, we'd be glad to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'd really kind of like to see what the card holders might have to say, and then we'll be glad to respond to everybody. Thank you.
Maria Julia Hill. You're speaking for, though, right? Okay.
I'm Mary Julia Hill. I'm the president of the Briarwood Area Neighborhood Association, and our association enthusiastically endorses this project, and it's located physically within our boundaries.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Corrine Fraser.
My name is Corrine Fraser. I live at 10,009 Raymond Drive. I am a bicycle commuter. This is my transportation choice. I put more miles on my bicycle every year than I do on my car. And some of you have maybe seen me go across the city because I bike all over the city. One of my main bicycle routes is between the development of Target and, I'm sorry, I don't know the name of that street. I think it's called St. Vincent's Way. I'm not opposed to this new building at all, not opposed to it at all. But there is a bike trail, a mid-line bike trail that goes to the Sears development, the old Sears development. And it comes from Henderson Junior High School, and it goes through Canis Park, and it's been there for a long time, not used very much. I use the roads through the neighborhoods quite a bit myself because they're wider and safer, not as narrow, and these trails have not been maintained, so we're hoping that when the 630 is widened that we can get these maintained. And so we've been working on this midline trail. When I say we, cyclists in the city have been working on this midline trail. There's also at that point where this division is going to be right across the street from the Target and the apartments and Cheddar's and those restaurants. That's a main bus hub. And all of the buses have bike racks on them. And I see bicyclists from all over the community going to that hub with their bicycles and getting on and loading on those buses. So I think it's really important that not only do they plan for pedestrians, but they also plan for bicyclists. And it's really important for you to understand that this is a choice, a transportation choice. It is not a bunch of racers, in pelotons going down like the Tour de France, but it is a transportation choice. And many communities are doing these nice bike lanes, and I'm just hoping that these people will consider bicycle trails through this area as well as the pedestrian trails. And we want a good, strong, safe crossing at University. And right now you can press the button and you can get across there safely. But I don't know what the new light will be like or the new signals, but I urge them to try to put a signal in there that would be safe for bicyclists and pedestrians, because there is a very wide trail road that goes along University and along the golf course just across from this, just to the east of this.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. I always see you out in the streets and enjoy not putting the face without the bicycle pants. So, and the helmet. Mr. Brown?
The slide that we just pulled up here is the current master bike plan from City of Little Rock website. To address a couple of comments from the card holder. First, at 6th Street and University, Public Works has defined that we should not have a pedestrian crossing at that location across to University. We should maintain the pedestrian crossing north-south to go across 6th Street, now District Avenue. And right now on the other side of the street, there's basically a curb, a 4 or 5 foot retaining wall, and then the pathway sidewalk that was referred to is between that wall and another wall stepping up to the golf course. So one of the other comments we received was on Midtown Avenue. It's a Class 3 bikeway, and we were requested to be able to sign that or use pavement markings to designate that as a shared bike route on the road. We have added Shero symbols to the site plan and turned that in with our revision after subdivision committee. At the south side, the solid green stripe down there coming to the southwest corner is the existing trail along 630. And then going south, I assume that would probably be a constructed bridge, is the future proposed route and extension of that particular trail. We have thought and talked about the bike situation, and I think I'd like Chris to respond a little bit about their opinion on how bikes might work within the property.
Thanks. Chris Anderson with Provident Realty. Thanks for having us here today. I just was made aware yesterday afternoon of the concern about bike path through the site, but as Robert had mentioned, one of the reasons why was, of course, the adopted bike route plan doesn't have anything that goes through the site, with the exception of the Type 3 trail proposed along the north side on Midtown Avenue. Of course, we're aware of the bike trail that ends there at the currently and doesn't cross the freeway. And of course, according to that map, it shows it as proposed for some future project. That being said, I spoke with, before the meeting, and one of our other team members spoke with Mark Webb some yesterday as well, about, possibly looking at connecting across the site or through the, along that south buffer or something like that. And we don't have really any issue with that. Of course, what we're pinched on is space. So one of the things that I had brought to his attention was that I don't have any issue with bike traffic through the site. We've got some, both the north-south and east-west roads that are kind of bisecting the site. Of course, the east-west one is closer to the south end there. They go through the traffic circle. The lanes are very wide. It's just two-way traffic, one lane each way, but the road is 30 or 32 feet wide, 30 feet wide, so they're ultra wide lanes, and so they'll easily accommodate bike traffic along that path, east-west and north-south. And the north end there that ends at Midtown is right next to the current bus stop, where they do some transfers for different routes with a bus stop that's just on the other side of the street from it. So I think that location works well for internally accommodating some bike traffic that would want to go to the bus stop. As well, we had a meeting Monday with Metro, what's their whole name? Rock Region Metro, there we go, thank you. They were requesting to have a bus route through the site, which we told them we could do, and they're actually planning on 2 stops in there, one going east to west and one going west to east. So we'll accommodate those as well. But I think that the bike traffic in our buffer area, on our sidewalks for all our pedestrian areas, or within the streets, either one could be accommodated that way. And I also committed that I would work with Mark to see about. We have some working relationship already with the highway department related to the improvements that they're doing in the freeway, and in relation to getting our access point maintained there for the turnout. So we have some conversations with them and have some inroads where we may be able to talk to them about extension of that trail within their right of way. The only concerns really that we have are physical concerns with that. There's a lot of cross slope in that area, because the freeway, as you know, goes under University there, under. Freeway goes over, sorry, okay. Anyway, so there's a whole lot of slope right there, including from our property line down to the current pavement level, and then also out in the highway department's right of way. So it may be more of a task than what can physically be done to put something on the south edge. But as I said before, we don't have any problem with accommodating that within our current design, accommodating bicycle traffic on the site like so. So hopefully that answers the question in some detail, and we'll be looking at that some more as we go forward.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Commissioners, any questions or comments for the applicant?
Is it still not a bike crossing on University along in there that they can safely go across?
Well, I believe that what the plan is showing there is that the blue trail on the north side would cross at Midtown. And although they're showing it as a future trail, it's something that we're accommodating within the street right away with their markings and so forth, as Public Works has directed us for that trail to continue to that intersection. And that's a signaled intersection as well. And so there's crosswalks and all that kind of stuff at that point. Of course, there's no other point planned by us right now, because the other trail, as you see, flips to the south side of the freeway. However, that's planned to occur. But, I would say that where our main driveway reaches University would be just from a planning perspective, maybe an obvious spot. But I guess traffic and Public Works is concerned that public crossing there and then also at the intersection to the north is, I suppose, too close together to accommodate and have the traffic flow, or for some reason they don't want us to have east-west crossings at that driveway. They want us to have the north-south crossing, but not the east-west at that T intersection that we're I guess it's already there, but we're creating the traffic signal there. So that question might be one for them as to why they don't want it. But that's more something that they asked us to do, and we acquiesced that it's important not to. We don't want to fight that.
And right now, there's no place to go because of the.
Oh, there's a retaining
Right now,
wall.
there's
That's correct.
presently no place to go because of the retaining walls. And we have a photo in there if you care to see that too.
Yeah, so that's another one of the challenges is that the east side of the road has got some grade separation.
Okay. Any other commissioners? Mr. You through, Mr. Lay?
Oh, I have a question on the leasing business out there, but I don't, well, these two gentlemen want to talk about that or
Oh,
not.
we don't want to talk about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You can feel free to contact me about it.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of this item with all staff recommendations and comments therein.
Second.
You just heard a motion and seconded to approve the application as written with all staff recommendations. Those approve, raise your hand. And those who do not,
Thank you all.
motion passes. Okay. We are ready for item number 9 when staff is ready.
Item number 9, file number Z-9319, PB General Holdings, LR, Colonel Glenn, short form PCD, located at 9601 Colonel Glenn Road. The request is a rezoning of the property from R2 Single Family to PCD Planned Commercial Development to allow the redevelopment of the site with a retail use. The property contains 2.74 acres and is proposed to develop with a 7,500 square foot commercial building. The site plan includes one access to Colonel Glenn Road. The site plan indicates the placement of 30 parking spaces. The applicant indicates screening will be provided along the site's perimeter where adjacent to residentially zoned or used property. The eastern perimeter is indicated with a 6-foot wood fence. Screening to the south will be accomplished via a wood fence or dense evergreen plantings. Along the western perimeter is a commercial user which will not require screening to be installed. The applicant states at the time of the request for a building permit, the developer will provide staff with a cost estimate for the street construction cost of Colonel Glenn Road since it is a state highway. Once the costs are agreed upon the developer and staff, by the developer and the staff, the developer will provide a contribution payment in lieu to the city for the cost of street construction due to the fact the highway department will not allow street construction to occur on their roads. Staff is supportive of the applicant's request. The site is indicated on the city's future land use plan as MX, mixed use, which allows for a mixture of residential, office, and commercial uses to occur. Staff feels to allow the redevelopment of the site as proposed is appropriate, and staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report.
Thank you. The applicant is here, I believe. Sabrina Ricks.
Yes, sir. I'm Sabrina Ricks. I'm with Blue and Associates. I would actually like to yield my time if there's anybody that has any
Okay.
questions or an opposition.
Sure. We just have one card, Joanne Kennedy, excuse me. Yes, would you like to approach the podium and state your position, please?
I did write a letter, and I probably am the only person who opposes it, but I wasn't aware of that. But I live at 9700 Colonel Glenn Road, and when I come down my driveway, to the west of me is a Kingdom Hall church, and then to the east of me is 9600 Colonel Glenn Road, and that's a residential, it's, I guess, a single-family dwelling. And directly across from my neighbor's driveway would be the 9601, which is where this is proposed. So when I come out of my driveway, it's already pretty busy as it is, and I looked up, mainly it's just the increased traffic and the hours of operation. Their hours of operation would be between 8 to 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. daily. And that's the main thing. I mean, just when I come out of my driveway, it would be not directly across from me, but it would be, I guess, east of me. Yeah, so that's my position, and thank you so much. If you have any questions or anything.
Okay, we won't have the applicant come up and speak, so
Okay,
thank you,
thank
Ms.
you.
Kennedy.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I did get her letter, and we have looked at that. I actually went to the site today and drove that road. With these developments, they typically do not increase traffic. This development is mainly meant to serve people already coming through that area. It's a quick stop. Most people that are there for 5 or 10 minutes just to grab something that's conveniently on their way home. They're typically not there all hours of the day. There's peak times where there will be more traffic in and out of the store, but typically that does not increase traffic on the road itself.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, commissioners? Comments? There being none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of item 9, including all staff comments and conditions therein.
Motions are made to approve the application with staff recommendations and comments. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Those approve, raise your hand. Those who do not, application passes. Okay. We are on to item number 10. And before we get started on that, I want to remind those in opposition, we have a 20-minute time limit.
They're going to take a deferral.
What's that?
They're going to take the deferral. They're going to request the deferral.
Where's the applicant? Would you get up and formally state your name and for the record and ask for the deferral, please?
My name is Rodney Chandler. Mr. Chairman, other commission members, we've decided to defer at this time, and we'll come back at the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we take a vote, I will remind you, we have your names and hopefully all the addresses, so you will be contacted when that comes back up. Is that correct, staff? And that will be for which meeting?
June 28th.
June 28th. If you got a calendar with you, mark that. Otherwise, there will be another notice to go out. And I do have your cards, and I appreciate you coming out.
Those that filled out cards will get a letter from the city.
Mm-hmm.
Those that were within the 200 feet will get a notice, regular mail this time, from the developer.
Okay. There you go. So do I hear a motion to defer this item?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we defer this item to the June 28th meeting.
You've heard a motion to defer. Has it been seconded? Those approve the deferral, raise your hand. And those who do not, motion to defer has passed. We are now open for.
Now we need to address
yes.
item B. But
That's right. Item B was moved to the end of the agenda.
But we're going to let Sean say what we need to do.
Okay. Sean?
Chairman Berry, is the applicant for item B in the boardroom? No. Well, what we'd like to do, Chairman Berry, is to provide them adequate due process, is go ahead and defer the matter and give them a letter stating that if the item was deferred. If they miss another meeting, it's going to be automatically denied, so they're placed on notice.
So, trip me through the process. You are allowed 3 deferrals, is that correct, or not?
The Planning Commission bylaws allow for 2 deferrals. A third deferral is prohibited, but within your bylaws, it tells how that the commission can waive their bylaws and allow that third deferral.
So we'd have to waive the bylaws to.
Not necessarily on this case, because the two of the previous deferrals were related to the applicant not responding to subdivision committee. And that was at staff's request. So based on the applicant, they have only had 1 deferral, and that was at your previous public hearing to allow them to work with the church to get a letter concerning parking.
I understand. Thank you for clarifying that. We heard the staff recommend a deferral. Would you all like to move for that?
Mr. Chairman, I move the staff recommendation for deferral of this item until the next appropriate meeting.
Do we hear a second? Second, we have motion to defer this item until time June 28th. Those approve of that motion? Those who do not? Okay. Items is deferred. Citizens communication. Anyone like to say anything, Ms. Bell? Oh, you can get to dinner with the family, and so can we. So thank you very much for today. We're adjourned.